You've talked very openly about the fact that you did not grow up with your father or around the house. His name is Winston from Trinidad. You were raised mostly by your mom, and it's always interesting to me, Shaka, when somebody comes out of an environment where they didn't have the dad around, because you are a leader of men and you are going into people's homes. And as a dad, I can relate to this. If someone's going to come into my home and say, I want to take care of your child and be a father figure to that child, you didn't have that growing up. How did not having a dad in the house affect your perspective now as a coach and as a potential father figure to your own players, some of whom I gather may not have had fathers of their own when they were growing up?
Well, I looked at our roster the other day and I counted, and we've got 4 out of 15 that had dads at home, which is too bad. It shouldn't be that way. It should be the other way around, that the majority did have fathers around. But the reality is, in our society today, there's a lot of kids that grow up like I did in single-parent homes, and that doesn't mean you can't be successful. It just means that you're going to have to find other means of finding those messages that maybe you got from your dad. For me, coaching our guys, it's something that I take very seriously. I'm not their dad. There's no replacement for a true father, but hopefully I am able to fill that void to some extent as a father figure, or as someone that can help them understand, here's what you're going to need to do to be successful. Things like accountability. Certain people, I wasn't taught it as well as I would have been taught it if I had a dad around all the time. Our guys are the same way. So when they get to college, they need to learn, hey, you can do X, Y, and Z, but you're going to be held accountable. And if you don't do A, B, and C, you're going to fall behind, or you're going to struggle in school or on the court. And that's a lesson that it's better taught when kids are young. But if they don't learn it when they're young, they certainly need to learn it when they get to college.
And I think the other element of your upbringing, and I want to talk about your mom as well, but, and again, you've talked very openly about this, about being a biracial kid growing up, your mom being white, your dad being African-American there in the Midwest. I think of, what they used to say about Lou Alcindor as being a minority of one. But you also talked about, for example, the experience that at one point you were playing for a white basketball team and a black basketball team, and the other ones, so you got to play for 2 teams and each didn't really know about the other. But was it hard growing up in that environment and being so different?
No, I think it was good. I mean, it was challenging at times, Seth. And, as a kid, I was no different than anyone else. You want to fit in, and you want your peers to like you, and you want to get along with everyone. But to be honest with you, I think being a little bit different for me has really shaped my life and helped me, because it's forced me to form my own identity. There wasn't really other people out there that I could say, oh, I'm exactly like this guy, or I had to be myself. I had to figure out who I was, and that's a process that we all go through. But I think it's helped me in my job and just in my life, because it's made me more comfortable with who I am, and that's well beyond any issues of race. It's more about what's inside.
And your mom being your primary person in your life, Monica King. I've always said there's no toughness like mama toughness. So tell me about your mom. Was she tough? She must have been pretty tough for you to turn out as well as you did.
She was the best. She is the best. We have a different relationship now, obviously, than we did when I was a kid. And she was quick to remind me, I'm not your friend. I'm your mom. But she really had very, very few rules, Seth. I grew up in an extremely liberal home. And for instance, I never, ever had a curfew. I mean, if I wanted to, I could stay out really, really late. And it wasn't really what I did. But the rules that she did have, she was extremely strict on. I could not come home with a bad grade. I could not come home and my mom get a report that I treated someone the wrong way, or that I, took advantage of a relationship in the wrong way. She was very, very big on empathy. She was big on, treating people the right way, whether you have anything to gain from it or not. And those are lessons that really have served me well in my life.
It's always interesting what I learn about folks when I do my research for these shows. One thing I learned about you, And again, I connected with this because I think the two best movies ever made. The number one in my book is It's a Wonderful Life. I'm a sentimental guy. What can I tell you? You know what I put at number two? Hoop Dreams, which was a documentary, which was incredibly groundbreaking. I think really spawned this whole reality TV era that we're in, for better and worse. But I read the column that your brother wrote that said you guys used to wear out the VCR watching Hoop Dreams. What was it about that movie that you connected with?
Well, I think the same thing that people connect with now when they watch reality TV, but it was unique back then. Just that, number one, it was basketball, which has for a long, long time been my passion. But number two, it was real. I mean, it was real life, and it was basketball on the court, but it was basketball off the court too. What these guys were going through, what their families were going through, the recruiting process, the attention, the pressure. And that was unique, as you know, at the time, to get a real special inside look at that for those kids in that movie. So, now it's so commonplace with the reality TV we see, but back then that was groundbreaking.